Hello curious human, welcome in a tiny house. Today I wanted to share some of the things I could have done better in my tiny house, and those details are huge when you're gonna build your own by yourself or with the help of professional. Whether you've got the budget today or not, if it's in your plans to get your freedom back and get your own tiny house, whatever shape or form it has, I really urge you to plan as soon as possible so that you avoid costly mistakes in money, but especially in time, and of course some headaches. And also it's going to help you to manifest that sooner than later. So believe in it and plan as soon as possible so you can dream and dream big. So anyway, my first couple of points are purely electrical. The first one are the outlets and the appliances you're going to use. So you don't need to do any modification or retrofitting in the future. So you want enough outlets so you can avoid extensions and multi-plug bars and blocks and things like that. How much power they draw and the proper fuses down the lines. Anyway, and so that leads me to that second point, which are the switch. For my mezzanine, I wish I did a three-way switch, which makes sense to be able to light on and off lights from the upstairs. That would have made it easier. However, they do sell some wireless stuff like that. The problem is a bulky block on my outlet now, so that would have been best to think that through. Also with switches you can integrate timers and dimmers for some things. The third point is the general electrical, but it's a separate issue. It's the 12 volt, 110 volt, 220. And so how do you manage all those? How do you wire your house to have those? And in case of power outage, how do you switch? I'm in Canada. Here we use 110 for everything housing, most things housing. So the tiny house is built like wired like a house. I did not try to do the RV style very much. However, when I do have a power outage, it's really nice to have those 12 volt lights, for example, and a couple of appliances that I can simply recharge with my batteries from my tools. However, I do have solar panels, but I did not do my solar system yet. And so the ideal is that my solar system can take over when I have a power outage. So the easiest for that is simply to have the 12 volt or 24, or even 48, 36, depends on your battery setup. The easiest is simply to have that DC converted into 110. So basically everything always is 110 in the tiny, and then on the back hand you either connect it to 110 to the grid or 12 volt through your battery bank, and then solar panel or whatever other solution to charge those batteries. For the 220, some appliances are much more efficient on 220. Who would have known? Maybe the Europeans would have known. And so in my case, the mini split works on 220. So I have a dedicated wire and breaker for the 220. So that's something to think about also. Other point, the fourth point, are the leveling feet. So I started this trailer really bare, meaning I welded some reinforcement myself to make the corners, the windows much stronger. And something I should have welded as well are leveling feet to make my life simpler. I should have bought at least 4 car jacks and weld them on the frame. The only downfall is that it does reduce the clearance because they are about this thick once retracted. So it makes the clearance of the trailer less on the road, and especially off-road. Fifth is the weight. So the weight of the tiny is a big challenge, because to me the priority of the tiny is not to be a travel trailer, is to be a comfortable, healthy house, and a house that feels good to be in it. So you shouldn't cut corners on a lot of things, and a lot of things mean not necessarily having a lot of things, but having quality things. You know, a good mattress is heavy, good appliances are heavy, having food in your trailer is heavy. So of course when I'm gonna move it, I'm gonna remove a lot out of it. The weight of your trailer, you should try to keep track of it, because you want to see as you go if your tires can take it, and then the hubs connected to the tire can take it, and then the axle connected from the hubs can take it, and then lift springs connected to the axle can take it. and then the brackets of the leaf spring attached to the frame can take it, and then the tongue of the trailer itself can take it. So there's all that going down the line that you gotta think about your weight once you move it. It's painful because you gotta do a proper Excel spreadsheet and really count everything. It's doable. It's best to do it before though. But anyway, that's why you should try to invest into the bigger, most heavy-duty trailer to begin with, so this does not become much of an issue in the future. 6th point is the seals. So how does the windows and the door and your intake air and outtake air seals is a big deal, because we are trying to build as tight as possible. The idea is to be able to create a controlled climate indoor, and so of course you don't want to have too much loss, not less thermal bridging. Thermal bridging is when you build especially, but less loss through those natural openings. So my door is pretty bad. I built it myself, and I did not do my seals very thoughtfully yet. I really thought I'd be able to do it after the fact and retrofit that. Turns out it'd be almost easier for me to rebuild the door with built-in a double profile that really allows for a proper seal. Like a double seal would be ideal, because I'm trying to be super efficient here. Same with the air intake. Here I have a powerful filtered air intake, and then I've got 3 outtakes, and so all of them, ideally you want also them to be closed when it's not in use and only open when you turn those fans on, because otherwise it's just open to the outside and you're just breaking all the efficiency of your system. So sealing your tiny house is something to think about. Yeah. Point 7 is the siding. So with the wildfire I've recently been through, I've been evacuated from here. I was not able to move the tiny house, which is a major problem. In my case, it's because I'm worried about the weight. But in the future, I'm gonna try to make the outside of my tiny house fireproof. So I'm gonna use more metal. I like corrugated metal, but I might also do like a patchwork of metal and wood. However, I will not be using cedar anymore. However, I love the cedar. But I'm gonna use wood, likely fir, and then I'm gonna do the Shou Sugi ban. Basically, you burn the wood to a char like really hard and then clean it. The best way to clean it is not brushing it, that makes a terrible mess, but using a pressure washer and remove the char. And what it does is it makes the wood fireproof, and it also ages it like 60-year-old, like instantly. It's beautiful, it's functional, and it's great. So your siding, you gotta think about that being ideally fireproof, but also it's a big part of the weight potentially, and also it's a big budget. So think that more about it's quite a big deal. Point 8, having a full-size fridge as an adult is quite a big deal, and I hate the idea of having it here. That'd be the best spot, here or actually here, because right now I do need to have that freezer because I do have quite a bit of food, and my smoothie routine is great to have those frozen things. And my small fridge that fits under the counter is great and all, but as a normal adult, it's pretty damn difficult. Yeah, you might want to consider a full-size fridge so that at least in one unit you've got freezer and a vast fridge for your needs. Point 9 is the gray water situation. So whoever's building your tiny house need to think about that connection at the bottom, whether you're gonna go with something that is really RV-like or something that is more like house-like. Me, I've gone house-like, which means I'm using black ABS pipe that is 1.5 inch, and then I've got a flexible thing that I can connect to that. Basically, you're making a trench and putting that pipe in there that arrives inside a bucket, and that bucket is inside a trench 3 by 3 by 24 or something like that, and you fill that with any kind of mulch actually, and I've seen that being approved in cities. They branch it out, so they have 3 pipes and 3 trench that really allows for even more absorption. The 10th point is chilling out and cozy, and so meaning you want to really think about where you spend most of your time, how you like to chill out, and this kind of thing, where you like to read and write. And so for me, it's a big deal. It's quite nice to have a writing desk and a comfortable office chair. And I don't spend much time on a couch. I've rarely had a couch. However, it's kind of nice to have one, especially when you've got visit. I often get them to sit in this one while I'm awkwardly sitting on my bench over there, and otherwise we just go and sit on the bed. And I'm considering making a custom tiny couch there. If I do put that, I might need to get rid of this giant chair. Okay, point 11, condensation. And condensation is a big deal, especially countries like Canada, where there are big extremes of temperature. I mean, this year, like this winter, we went to minus 25 degrees Celsius sometimes, and we went up to 40, 42 and more degrees Celsius here in the summer. So the extremes are huge, and that's the thing. Inside a tiny house, I love to be able to keep that place at 18 or 20 degrees no matter what. So what it means is that within the floor, within the walls, and especially the ceiling, you've got massive delta of temperature. And when you've got big differences like that, it means that there's that contact at some point somewhere in the sandwich where there's likely to be condensation that happens unless you take measures. So those measures are usually quite simple as leaving an air gap. So you want to have an air gap between your material, whatever it is, and your insulation, because otherwise what happens is that the coldest spot is going to get in contact with the warmish air, and condensation is going to create. And if it has nowhere to escape, and especially to be dried by, it's just going to create droplets of water that's going to just mold, or worse, is going to make your insulation soggy, heavy, and worthless. Because once the insulation is wet, it just loses all its insulating properties. So it's quite a big deal. Pay attention if you've got a contractor doing it. Try to make sure that insulation is almost never in contact with the material, at least on the outside. And the last point, the 12th point, is flooring. So same, try to pick the flooring, your final flooring, so you don't have to change it like I did. I did that because actually I've put it this way, whereas putting it this way looks much better, and it's much better for joints. Like I staggered my joint much better. And also, yeah, I wanted to do heating flooring in this floor, and I want to do it in all the next ones, because you can use heating in many different ways. It can be electrical, propane, wood stove, passive solar, all sorts of ways. So once you've got that system in your floor, and even your walls, whatever, you have those pipes sticking out, you can take your time to deal with that part, meaning learning what's the best solution for you, and then do it after. And that was my goal here, to do it here. So that was my last point. I hope that wasn't too long. I hope you managed to listen to this, and especially if that helps you. So thanks for sticking in, and be curious. Good luck with your project. If you have questions, you can still put in the comments down below. In the description, there is that list of points and some pointers, and good luck with your project. Thank you for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.